Not all martial arts are created equally. Some are absolutely useless when it comes to real scrap. Others are phenomenally brilliant when it comes to real scrap. Some arts, some of the best arts, boxing, the amateur wrestling styles, sambo, don't actually have a belt system as such. So no matter how good you get in those arts, you're never going to become black belt in them because they don't have the belt system to get to black belt. So I only point this out because some of the best and highest qualified martial artists, in terms of they've got 5 black belts, might not know anything about self-defense. I know that seems a bit odd, but there is a myth about having a black belt. If that black belt has never trained where they are exposed to raw naked aggression, this person will crumble when it comes to a real fight. If they're not used to having somebody stood in front of them screaming at them, this person is not going to be able to fight because it's not what they're used to. You fight how you train. So, I personally would be more weary about somebody with 6 months of boxing and is a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That person to me would be more of a threat, more dangerous than someone who's got a third dan in Taekwondo and a second dan in Aikido. Cue the Taekwondo and Aikido guys getting in touch with me, offering me fights. Um, when people create their own martial art just to say, I'm a 10th degree red belt master in Chun Kuk Do, which is the martial art Chuck Norris created, it doesn't really rank for me. His judo black belt and his Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, they're impressive, but the other stuff not so much. So, if you had an open fight like the early days of the UFC, and it was a third degree black belt in Tang Soo Do against a guy who's a brown belt in judo, my money is on the brown belt in judo. If you look at Mike Tyson, he doesn't have a black belt to his name, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to fight Ralph Macchio in the street than you would Mike Tyson. For the children out there, Ralph Macchio was the original Karate Kid. So the black belt doesn't really mean much. It doesn't really mean anything at all. Some of the best fighters I've ever known are guys that haven't had a day's worth of training to their name, but every weekend for the past 20 years they've gone out, had a few pints, and started a fight. So although they've never formally trained, the arsenal they have, they know works. They've only got 3 or 4 things that they do, but they know those 3 or 4 things are always going to work. So combine that with somebody who's spent 20, 30 years in dojos, but they've never actually been exposed to, what the fuck are you looking at? They've never been exposed to somebody they don't know getting close up to them and being aggressive, they're going to crumble. So if you do go to a martial arts class for self-defense purposes, those are some of the things to be wary of. How often do you swear at each other? You can't swear in the dojo. I know I've been over this before, but it bears repeating because again, recently I had someone say, "Oh, I did karate when I was 12. I don't need self-defense lessons." The mere act, the fact that someone would say that proves that they do, and proves that they don't understand the difference between martial arts, self-defense, and professional fighting or match fighting. I've been over that in another video. If I remember, I'll link it in the bottom of this. But again, I just want to point out that the black belt doesn't mean anything because different schools have different syllabus that you need to get to. They've got different grading systems. They've got a different criteria to become a black belt. So, you can get some people who have got to black belt or a secondary black belt and they've never actually had to fight. They've never competed. So let alone not, obviously you should be so you're going, okay, I'm a brown belt. I need to go out and get to some shoot fights so I know what I'm doing. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that if your club or your style does not have full-on sparring, and when I say full-on sparring, I do mean to the point where bring a gum shield and a cup, and wrap the hands and wear the gloves. If it doesn't have, obviously that's for striking, that's if it doesn't have full-on randori, where it's like, okay, go for it, then you don't really know that it works. If it's all been theoretical and hypothetical, you come at me like this, I block like this, I do this, you should then do this. No, it doesn't work. If it doesn't have full-on contact sparring, you don't know that it will work. If they don't go over the adrenaline dump, if they don't go over the triggers, if they don't go over how to spot body language, if they don't go over escapes, and when I say escapes, I mean if you see something down the road that looks dangerous, turn around and go the other way. If they don't go over this very basic stuff, then you shouldn't be in that class if you're looking for self-defense. If they say, oh yeah, it's a great self-defense class, they told me how to get out of grabs, they taught me wrist locks, okay, did they teach you how to avoid that to begin with? if they didn't teach you how to avoid that stuff to begin with, then you're not really doing it for self-defense. So, although some black belts are incredibly worthwhile doing for self-defense, judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, a lot of them just aren't. They don't translate that well to actual self-defense scenarios, where of course our objective in self-defense is to avoid the damage, it's to get ourselves away from the danger as quickly as possible. So again, cue a whole bunch of martial artists who don't really pay attention to what I'm saying, who are going to get in touch because they're hurt, whatever. The black belt is a myth. The black belt has absolutely no bearing on your fighting ability whatsoever. It really doesn't. That's why you had in the early days of MMA, you had guys that were 5th dan, 6th dan black belts who got absolutely squished. You know, you had guys who didn't really know what they were doing. It was clear they didn't know what they were doing, yet they were boasting black belts in multiple different styles. The black belt is a myth. The black belt does not automatically make you a great fighter. It does not automatically mean that you are never afraid of anything. All it means is you've now got a belt that maxes your socks. So, yeah. Any comments, questions, suggestions, or queries, let me know in the box below. I will link the Facebook group and the website in the description. It is solely based on this stuff is for the interaction, so please do share and like these videos. Until next time, stay safe.